Hello Crypto Cats, my name is Tom, I am the crypto investor and it's time for our weekly market roundup. As ever, we start with a heat map where we look at the top 100 tokens and you can see that in the last 24 hours things have got red, they got ugly. We have Ethereum down 5% on the week, Bitcoin down quite a bit more, 13.4% on the week. This is really one of the main stories and we'll talk about this in a bit. Solana holding up pretty well at down 1.5%. Other kind of meme stuff and gaming and metaverse all getting hit pretty hard. The winners in the space, most layer ones getting hurt hard, but if we drill down into this, Luna and Matic still up for the week. Luna up 34%. It was up 70% for the week. Quite amazing moves happening in the Terra space. And if you don't have this in your bag, I really would encourage you to get some because Luna has the same deflationary tokenomic properties as ETH, as well as a very vibrant ecosystem. Polygon Matic, many good news stories and adoption stories coming out of Matic, and I'll share with you some of those in a minute as well. Let's get into the bubbles. I mean, it's just a lot of red bubbles. Nothing really stands out. DFI, this is a DeFi exchange. We've just hit the top 100. I don't know anything about those. I'll take a look and see if it's a worth note for next week. There's Luna looking good. What do we have? All right, so in the L1, we'll move on to that in a minute. In the L2 space, you can see that overall we are down. Of course, when the market contracts, the value locked in layer 2 for Ethereum tends to contract as well, but down 6% for the week, not cataclysmic. Overall, you know, we are still up until the right. I mentioned some of the most prominent news this week is the fact that we are seeing Ethereum down a lot less than Bitcoin. When we get market contractions historically, always, Bitcoin has been considered the more safe haven asset. And Ethereum, of course, you know, the leader of the altcoins. But perhaps we are seeing a sentiment shift there. For me, this is signal, something to be paying attention to. So we've seen this week that this is looking at the comparison of the market cap of Bitcoin and Ethereum, and you can see now that we've broken the 50% mark. The market cap of Ethereum is 52% more or less that of Bitcoin. So we've got the half flippening. We'd need to get up to here to 0.15 ratio, which would at current prices put Ethereum at $7,500 without Bitcoin's price changing to get that flippening. It happens, it's just whether it happens in 2022, 2023 or later. But for me, it happens, it's an inevitability because of the tech functionality built on this. Crypto is many things, not just a store of wealth, in my opinion. It can have many facets. So on this flippity chart, you know, they have double flippenings and triple flippenings and all sorts. It just gives you an idea of the price that you need to achieve that. Anyway, bit of fun. And just looking at the amount that locked in DeFi, we have nearly $250 billion TVL locked in DeFi. Curve, the primary protocol with 8% of the total DeFi locked there. All right, so why are we dropping? What is going on? Well, for me, okay, last we got spooked a little bit due to Omicron and, you know, worries about that. But I think the primary reason is really contagion due to the stock markets, and we have to look at the macro situation here. Jay Powell, the Fed chairman, money printer extraordinaire, is just starting to get a little bit more hawkish with his tone, with his rhetoric. Basically, you know, he's saying, I'm going to not use the word transitory when talking about inflation anymore, because he recognizes, as we've been saying for a good year or so, that this inflation is not transitory. It's not going away. And they are in a rock and a hard place. You know, of course, they want to stimulate the stock market. They want to see the economy recover, but they're getting to a point where they simply can't print more money without it being more detrimental on the market due to inflation. Inflation would be far more dangerous. So they're going to have to curtail their bond buyback scheme. Right now, every month they chuck in, I can't remember the number, I think it's $120 billion a month into the markets, which is why the markets just continue to go up and to the right and the dollar goes down and down in spending power. So this change in rhetoric, this change in sentiment is actually more what is spooking the market more than anything else. And that's, of course, what's spooking the crypto markets as well. Because if, you know, in a way, inflation is the best friend of crypto. Crypto offers that life raft to escape from a broken monetary system. And so the more that they effectively get their shit together by recognizing inflation and changing their rhetoric, the more the less that plays into the hand of Bitcoin and crypto as a whole. Now, the Fed are going to be, the CPI print, which is a consumer price inflation print, is this month. Last month we got a 6.2%, which is very high inflation. It means your money is going down by 6% every year. That print is every month, and we're getting it again this week, and we will find out what it is. There you go, it is 120 billion, the monthly stock buyback. And you know, if this inflation print comes up even higher, which it's expected to, maybe 7%, you know, maybe we get some dizzying high numbers. Well, if we get a really high number, it's going to really put rocket fuel under the crypto markets. It's probably going to spook the stock market. So I think it's on Wednesday, the CPI print. This is a big deal. Overall, you know, crypto is at the mercy of the macro markets, and we can expect further volatility this week. If we look at the VIX index, which we'll have a look at in a bit, you can see the implied volatility in the stock market is rather high right now. All right, let's get onto the news and bits going on. First of all, this is just sharing that maybe it's time to stand up and pay attention to ETH. It's has a total market cap of 550 billion, which makes it worth more than any bank in the world. It's overtaken JP Morgan at $480 billion. You can just see, you know, next milestone will be when Ethereum is worth all of the banks put together. How people can think that this is a fad, that it's not here to stay, that, you know, that this isn't worth paying attention to, is beyond me at this point. Some fun adoption. Oh, they have changed it back. Wow. I was just about to share with you, maybe it's due to this crash, that Budweiser had changed their Twitter handle to beer.eth, and they've actually just changed it back. So Budweiser's now, obviously they didn't like the look of that crash. Budweiser is now Budweiser, but it was beer.eth. They bought that ENS domain for 30 Ethereum at the time, but they have now changed it back. Anyway, we can talk about the fact that they have released an NFT collection. They were selling each one of these. I think they were $1,000. You could buy them in ETH and stablecoin and dollar as well. And they sold all these NFTs in record time and raised millions of dollars. Again, just further evidence that crypto pays you to propagate it. So the more that companies wish to adopt cryptocurrency, the more they effectively get paid. So, you know, Budweiser, very little effort. Here's several $1 million, as well as now people that are supporters of your brand. You know, if you hold a NFT, it's kind of like holding some stock in a way. You want the brand, you want to support the brand, you want to show off the brand. It makes you vested, gives you a vested interest. JP Morgan are at it, always outspoken against crypto, and on the other hand, they are also giving away NFTs at their event. Someone's listing it for 420. Surprised it's not 420.69, but there you go. Jack Dorsey has stood down from Twitter. Many people speculating that this is because that Twitter want to go much more in a Web 3.0 direction. Certainly the new CEO, Mr. Parang, is going to be far more open to Web 3.0. Jack obviously is very into crypto, but he's very much tunnel vision on just Bitcoin. Look, there you go. There's his description, #Bitcoin. And this doesn't really fit for the kind of the future of Twitter, particularly if they're adopting things like a NFT verification of your profile picture, for example, which cannot obviously be, NFTs cannot be achieved on Bitcoin. So in the same breath, though, obviously he'll be having a lot more focus on Square, and Square has now changed its name to Block. So they're going to be having, obviously, a much more blockchain-focused direction as a business. Interesting. All right. I quite like this. This is quite cool. Is it going to play? Is it going to load? This is someone using an NFT to unlock their front door. There it goes. And so, you know, this is just you can just start to think about different applications of NFTs. Okay, we don't necessarily need this, but it's kind of cool. And then just think about, obviously, you go to a hotel, you get an NFT on your phone that is valid for X amount of time that you're staying there. That then doubles down as a proof, what's it called? That you are, like when you get points for backing a brand. I can't think of the words right now. And so, yeah, let's say you have these NFTs and it shows that you spent 28 days at this hotel over the last year, or this brand of hotels, then you get a free night in return. Loyalty points, there we go, loyalty points. So, this is just cool uses of ENS that we didn't think of before, and different NFTs. Like, if you haven't bought a ENS domain of your name, I really encourage you to do so. I think that actually is my next, I'll jump ahead to my next talking points and come back to these. ENS is going from strength to strength. 90,000 new .eth registrations last month for ENS, which is pretty cool. I certainly have mine, and I bought one for my kid as well and my wife. Like, I think it's really nice to have this. And if anyone wants to send you money, you can say, "Oh, just send it to tomwilliams.eth," or or it can obviously be somewhere where you, in the future, I believe you'll have your passport, for example, as a NFT function, and all of your real-world assets will be have an NFT equivalent to borrow against them. This will just play more and more of a role as the technology builds out. So I mentioned Polygon, Matic doing rather well, and one of the reasons perhaps this week is that Uniswap have got to phase one governance process, basically saying, I think there was a 95% vote in favor or more than that for Polygon Matic to be added to Uniswap. So that's looking likely to happen, which is pretty cool. It'd be nice to have those super low gas fees on Uniswap. They do have Arbitrum, I think, but it's just not getting much traction, whereas Polygon's got really good adoption going on so far. The Thai royal family, potentially the richest family in the world, they're the largest holder of a company called SCB. SCB have just bought the biggest crypto exchange in Thailand. And there's a lot of breadcrumbs here basically showing that Thailand as a country is clearly becoming very crypto friendly, and they recognize the opportunity for Thailand. And so, yeah, they will make it easy to accept cryptocurrencies for tourists in Thailand, and it's just further sign of adoption. So well done, Thailand. Good to see them on the right side of history. We have Congress are hearing with the execs from Coinbase, FTX, Paxos, and others. So you've got Sam Bankman-Friedman. I don't think Brian Armstrong is going. I think he's got too much umbrage with these guys at the moment to remain impartial. But they're going to be meeting and talking with Congress about digital assets and the future of finance. So this is just going to be, maybe an educational process for Congress, and it's all important stuff. And we'll see. We'll see what happens on the 8th of December. Maybe we get some interesting news catalysts on the back of this. Ross Ulbright, if you don't know who Ross Ulbright is, he is the creator of the Silk Road, the drug marketplace. He got a deeply heavy sentence of multiple lives in prison. So he's created an NFT, which is to his mum is running his Twitter account, and he drew this in prison, and it's already, I think it's been bought by the is it the People DAO, the ones who are looking to buy the Constitution, and I think it's already raised something like $4 million. Oh no, the bidding has reached $1.2 million, and the proceeds of this will go towards helping families to see their loved ones in prison who are far away and such. But anyway, it's quite nice to see the crypto community getting on the back, helping Ross here. However, the Bitcoin community have been denouncing him for this because it's obviously on Ethereum, and they thought he was a purist of Bitcoin, and they're saying, "Fuck you, Ross! How could you do this to us?" So it's quite interesting to see that kind of Puritan approach from some of the Bitcoin community. I don't want to tar the whole brush with that rhetoric. Anyway, AMC are launching NFTs for the new Spider-Man movie. We talked about, every film in the future is going to be doing this because you can hand out NFTs like confetti. You can tell people to put it as their profile picture logo. Twitter says, yes, they did put it as their profile picture logo. You get handed out free tickets or merchandise for doing so. It costs AMC nothing to do this, and they can have hundreds of thousands of people sharing, promoting their film for them. I mean, it's just a marketeer's dream. It's very clever. That's not what they're doing. That's what I'm surmising will happen in the future. Adoption, bullish. And Crypto.com's Kronos chain nears 1 billion TVL locked. It's been quite amazing to see Crypto.com. I had this when it was Monaco Coin back in 2017, and since they have made their own L1, the token has been going mad. It got up to 96 cents. I think it has fallen back quite aggressively, but it's a I don't know much about the Kronos chain that they're building, but the fact they've already got $1 billion locked in TVL is pretty impressive, and it's a whole product built around the name Crypto.com. That's very valuable. They've got Matt Damon behind them. They've bought the naming rights to Los Angeles Staples. They are a crypto bank which are going places. It's impressive. All right, let's jump into the ugly charts. So starting off with the total crypto market, this is the market cap of everything combined. We were holding at that quite critical $2.4 trillion level, and we didn't want that to break. And this morning, or my time in Thailand, it just broke, and we had this pretty aggressive liquidation event. We came down to $2 trillion. We've since bounced back $0.2 trillion. Yeah, the total crypto market is down 10% on the week. Looking at this on the daily chart, we have this pretty ugly candle. But if we can fight back and get back above here, back to 2.4 in the next day or two, this would be, for me, a very bullish sign. It shows that there is a wealth of buyers here waiting to prop up this market. So watching this closely, Bitcoin is down 11% on the day, and again, was quite a critical line in the sand, this 53,000. If we look at this on the weekly chart, I haven't got it. I'm not a TA guy. I'm just sharing you what I've seen, that some fib levels that people had on their charts. This was a perfect hit on their fib levels, and many people said that this was a possibility. So maybe now we've had this. What I feel is now we've had this flush out. Basically all of that leverage has been wiped out of the system. Perhaps we can now move on from here and move back up. So the next few days are going to be critical. I think a lot is going to be depending on what we see in the stock market on Monday and Tuesday as well. But yeah, really not a pretty candle. Bitcoin looking a little bit vulnerable. This is just looking on that weekly chart. I mean, look, if we take this, clone this, you can see that on a more macro kind of scale, the damage isn't appalling. We still have we're still moving up, we're still channeling up, but from top to bottom, from that new high that we put in, that is a 40% drop, which is big, really big, even for Bitcoin. So let's see how we get on. All right, Ethereum on the other hand is holding up rather well. If we take this down to the weekly chart, you can see that for the week we are down 7%. Well, we know 7% on this, 5% on the heat map. We came back down and we have tested this trend line which has been in play, and it got a perfect bounce on there, also where I had support coming in at 3,500. I think if we can regain 4,000 again in the coming 12 hours or so, that's going to be quite a bullish sign for Ethereum. And for me, I genuinely feel that we kind of needed this flush out to move up higher. And so I know I'm a little bit of an uber bull, but I wouldn't be surprised if we make a move towards all-time highs within the next 2 weeks or so, 10 days maybe even, depending on what happens in the traditional finance world. But we will see. First things first, it needs to regain 4,000, but quite an impressive bounce from that low that we saw. We have already bounced back 10% also. So let's see. It's, you know, this just happened a few hours ago, so yet to really make heads or tails. But for me, the most significant aspect of this whole thing is the ETH Bitcoin chart. So today, ETH is up 5% versus Bitcoin. I've never ever, since I've been in crypto, seen the market crash and ETH increase its dominance over Bitcoin. For me, this is a seismic kind of change in rhetoric. So normally, obviously, Bitcoin represents safety, and today we're seeing Ethereum represent safety, and it's further pushing up the value of Ethereum versus Bitcoin. For me, this is big signal, big signal. And you know, I'm very outspoken that I'm more bullish on Ethereum versus Bitcoin. However, I've always felt that should we slip into a bear market, Ethereum would suffer more than Bitcoin. But what we're seeing right now is maybe the opposite. So this is quite a big deal. Before even talking about that, this week, of course, we have a massive breakout. So we've been looking at this big formation, this kind of pennant formation that has been holding, and we didn't expect it to complete all the way till June 2022. We've now got the breakout. We've now got the break of the half flippening, the 50% market cap. And here we are sitting at 52%. So for me, this is a breakout and potentially a continuation pattern. I wouldn't be surprised to see this really move on. This is where it would need to get to flip Bitcoin. I don't see this happening, you know, maybe for another year or so. But I do think there's a good chance we move up to the 0.1 mark, which would represent a further 20% gain for Ethereum over Bitcoin. I'd say 0.1 is likely next target over the next few months or so, depending on the broader market. But we've just done 35% in a month. So Ethereum's value has increased over Bitcoin's 35% in a month. And it's not a surprise. Ethereum has all these new utilities. We're seeing broad adoption of NFTs by institutions, and it has the favorable tokenomics of the fact that we are now seeing most of the supply burnt, and we know that the new supply gets turned off in April or May, but probably April or so. That is the final risk factor, of course, that the move to proof of stake is problematic. I think the most cautious money is waiting for that before jumping in. But should that all go swimmingly, and most people feel it will, then just look out. So yeah, really bullish move to see Ethereum heading up like this versus Bitcoin. You know, it's all well and good performing very well against the US dollar. We know that, you know, the US dollar is the ultimate shitcoin. I mean, not the ultimate shitcoin. There's many worse. It's probably the best currency out there compared to all the other fiat currencies. But for Ethereum to be forming like this in a rickety market versus Bitcoin is, for me, very significant. Anyway, DeFi, pretty disgusting, down 16% today, down 17-18% on the week. We had found a bounce and support on this kind of big macro channel, which we are in right now. Not much more to say there. Metaverse tokens versus Ethereum. Big blow off top, big sell off. I did say in my video about buying the MVI without paying gas that for me it was getting a bit expensive and it wasn't financial advice, maybe dollar cost average into this. And we've since seen a 25% drop versus Ethereum for the MVI tokens. We will see how far back down this comes, but I would expect ETH to outperform here for a bit further. The other thing is, you know, the best token to get exposure to the metaverse is Ethereum overall as well, even better potentially than the MVI index, in my opinion. All right, DeFi versus Ethereum, just because we always do it, but it's just too ugly to look at. But here we go, a new low. I don't even know why we bother. I mean, of course, it's just a new low for DeFi versus Ethereum, falling into the abyss today. It just, you know, you don't think it can get lower, and it does. Looking at the shorts on Bitcoin, slowly up, but there's still a fair amount of shorts held on Bitcoin even after this flush out, which is quite interesting. So many people feeling that this move isn't necessarily done. But I welcome shorts on Bitcoin because, you know, they're there to get liquidated. So we will see. Solana sitting at 195. Was looking really nice, really nice. It had regained this channel. It got back up to $240, only to turn around with the broader market and have that nasty low put in at 172 today as people get liquidated in their positions. But if we look at Solana's dominance, you can see that we're up to 2.7% of the total market. That's significant. Like we're not quite the highest close, but it's even with everything going on today, Solana is almost at its highest point versus the broader market. And this is what you want to be looking at. Not how everything's doing against the US dollar, it's how it's doing against its peers. And Solana really is still holding up very strong and looking like this is a token that's going to 3, 4, 5% of the total market in time. Luna. Wonderful moves for Luna. This is my second biggest holding now, and Luna is now 1% of the total market. Okay, Luna is looking to, well, from a dominance perspective, have its highest close ever. If we look at Luna on the charts, I mean, it was up to $70 per token. We are still looking for the highest close ever for Luna, which is really nice to see. I read a piece with some outlandish price targets of $10,000 per Luna in 2022, so I stuck that in my hopium pipe, and I'll save it for later. Okay, and what else do we have? That is it, really. Oh yeah, finally, Polygon Matic is worth noting. It has moved back significantly. It did look like we were breaking out of this massive formation. Matic was up to $2.40 until we got this large sell-off that's just happened, down 15% on the day. But looking at Matic's dominance, it's up to 0.6% of the market. Hasn't given back too much that dominance today. I expect Matic to really push on. Looking very strong at the moment, Matic. And that is it. That's it, Crypto Cats. I hope you found it useful. Happy investing, everyone. I forgot to ask you to like and subscribe. Please do like and subscribe and all that good stuff, and I'll speak to you soon. All the best.